But right now, with me on the phone, I have a legend within the world of sports news in North Carolina, Mr. Tom Suter, former sports anchor of WRAL TV5. Tom, welcome to the Time Machine, sir. How you doing?
Hey, Jarrell, how are you? Good to be with you. You used to watch us on Football Friday, didn't you, down there at Northampton West?
Of course. Shout out to all the Hurricanes out of Northampton West and to the Northampton County East Rams. Even though you guys were our rivals, you got to give love to the county rivals. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with me.
Hey, I'm staying up late tonight to be on with you, Jarrell.
Oh, and I know that it's a special night, and let's roll to the videotape.
11 o'clock news.
All right, so go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and where did you get your love of sports from?
Okay, well, I grew up in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and went to work at WRAL TV in 1971, fresh out of Erskine College. WRAL was the only place that I ever worked. I did weekends, early mornings, you name it. I did it from about 1971 to 1981. In 1981, I became the 6 and 11 o'clock sports anchor. And in 2003, I gave up the 11, stayed on the 6. And in December 18th of last year, I retired from the 6 o'clock news, but I'm still doing some work for Capital Broadcasting, WRAL TV, and, kind of a part-time capacity just to have some things to do.
Quite amazed. I did not know that you're from Rocky Mount, Nash County. We're right from around the same area.
Yeah, my mother still lives there, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to visit her tomorrow, see how she's doing, and have supper and what have you.
And come to find out, other people from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Herman Boone, the famous coach from Remember the Titans up at T.C. Williams in Alexandria, Virginia.
Movies, love that movie. Yep, Herman Boone, Phil Ford from Rocky Mount. And at one time, Governor Easley was on my Little League baseball team.
Wow.
As was Ken Thompson, the former chief executive officer of Wachovia Bank. How about that?
Yeah, so you were in some good company on that Little League team.
Yeah, and a lot of people. I think there are like 7 members from the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame from Rocky Mount, which is pretty amazing for a small little town like that in eastern North Carolina.
So you're coming from Erskine College and you're stepping into WRAL. So what was it like going in and working your way up to the main position, which was the 6 o'clock news spot?
Well, I've got to tell you, when I started out at WRAL, the only thing I knew about television was how to turn the TV set on. It was unbelievable. Today, coming out of Erskine College or any college with the experience that I had, nobody would have hired me, especially the station like WRAL. But back then, things were different, and our newscast was in black and white film back then, believe it or not. And so I started out, and as I said, the only thing I knew about the television was how to turn the set on. And the first interview I ever did was with the great John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach. He was at Campbell University at their basketball camp, and it was June 8th, 1971, a hot day. It must have been about 95 degrees. I had on the only tie, shirt and tie that I had, and went down there and interviewed Coach Wooden, and it was an exciting but nerve-wracking experience, I will tell you. So I started my career in 1971 interviewing John Wooden, and my last interview was with Mike Krzyzewski, so that's pretty good bookend, isn't it?
Definitely that. Now, when you first came in, did some anchors at the station take you under their wing and kind of guide you along?
Well, not really. Basically, the sports was, at our station, I got to work for a year with the legendary Ray Reeve. Now, he's way before your time, but when I was growing up in eastern North Carolina, Ray Reeve was the guy you listened to for ACC football and basketball. It seemed like he was at every game there was, doing play-by-play. You hear Woody Durham and you hear Bob Harris, Woody of the Carolina Network, Bob Harris of the Duke Network. They, too, listened to Ray Reeve growing up, and especially in Woody Durham, you can tell the influence that Ray Reeve had. And so I got to work with him for a year. He was like 70 years old. But mainly, though, what I had to do was just kind of pick things up on my own, listening to people, watching people, and what have you. And I'll tell you, I have had some embarrassing moments, Jarrell. I remember going out to Crabtree Valley Mall here in Raleigh when it just opened, and I was walking around the mall, and this little girl tugged at her mother's skirt and said, "Mommy, look, there's the guy you and Daddy are always laughing at on TV." Because really, I wasn't very good, and I knew I wasn't very good, and I took a lot of hard knocks. But that's the way you learn this business. But when you make mistakes in, television, a lot of people know that you made a mistake. If you're at the office and just doing something, at any kind of job, you make a mistake, well, you can kind of cover it up. And in TV, you're out there for 500,000 people to see you messing up.
So it's not like radio where you're hiding behind a mic in a booth.
Now, I've done some radio. I'm doing some radio in my part-time position. I like radio so much better, Jarrell, because it's like you have plenty of time. You like us right now, like we're having a conversation. On television newscast, everything is so structured and so strict, and time limitations. And I found out that this is a funny thing. I was at WRAL, on television for 37 and a half years, and I've been off now for about 2.5 months. And I realized in that 2.5 months how much I really disliked being on television. It was such a stressful business, and the reason that I, gave it up, I'm 60 years old now, and I used to, at the end, I was driving into work, so just dreading having to go on and do it. Everybody reaches a point when they're just tired of doing it, and I knew my point had come.
Now, ask me this question. Did former WGHP sports anchor Rich Brenner have any ties with WRAL?
Oh, he sure did. Rich was one of the great guys. As a matter of fact, and I tell people this all the time, I learned more about television from Rich Brenner than anybody that I've ever worked with. I worked with Rich from 1978 to 1981. I was doing the weekends, and Rich was the Monday through Friday 6 and 11 guy, and he left in 1981 to go to Chicago. And when he left, I worked 88 consecutive days in order to get that, the number one position. It was stressful, and I kid Rich. I said, Rich, if you hadn't gone to Chicago, you'd still be doing the weekdays at REL, and I'd still be doing the weekends, and we'd be having a great time. Rich knew a lot about television, and a lot of what I picked up, well, most of what I picked up was, was working with Rich back there in the late 70s, early 80s.
And when I did an interview with Charlie Gaddy a while back, he had mentioned...
Great. Now, Charlie, I'll tell you, Jarrell, there are not very many people around who are as classy and kind and nice as Charlie Gaddy. He is tops, and he was our longtime 6 o'clock anchor at WREL, and I feel very honored to have worked with him.